Could someone didn't have space, but okay. Trying to figure out how to put something into words. It's like a rule of ethics. So dinosaurs went extinct, but via our Jesus argument, because they didn't know what was happening to them at the point that they were dying, what was going on was not their fault. Pretty much, if a creature or a person is ever dying, and it's out of their control, then at that point they don't know what they're doing. And so that is an immediate indication of some sort of general lack of guilt, justified by trapped in a response to momentum already occurring around it. Pretty much saying, because it couldn't survive at that moment, it doesn't know what it's doing, and so it pretty much didn't know what it was doing the whole time, or else it wouldn't have died. Dinosaurs have been eliminated via an argument about an asteroid. But the way I see it, us just accepting that the dinosaurs died for no reason, that a species just went extinct, is one of the first ideas that exposes humanity to ethical extinction from existence. If you look at human behavior, the top layer, the social stuff, kind of looks like dinosaur behavior. And that on the social field, there seems to be animals that we call strategies and break down into intentions and actions. But if you just look at the momentum of what they're doing, we have social eaters, people that are turning into, as groups, a predator on the social spectrum, trying to take someone else out. And if you look at all this, it seems to follow that archaic, chaotic, dinosaur reptilian behavior that we associate with them going extinct, which is they were all preying on each other. They were all trying to get each other killed. They were all fighting, and they didn't even know why. Now, cats and dinosaurs have something in common in that cats just seem to exist and also play this game of ethical social battling, in which they attempt to tell you that you are less than them, and the only way you can survive is to be better than them. They'll do things that seem like they aren't doing on purpose, yet they're always staged to make it look like it is a survivalistic challenge against you. This is what I think dinosaurs were doing. Constantly trying to protrude themselves up to the top. Constantly trying to say, I deserve to be alive more than you because I'm doing this and you're not. Constantly saying, I deserve to be alive more than you because I made it to doing this before you could stop me. So we've got these animals that still look like lizards, but have fur on them. And I think it is the leftover surviving traits from dinosaurs upon a human collision of thought. What may have ended the dinosaurs could have been an asteroid, but that asteroid could have been materialized by an argument about continued survival. If all the dinosaurs are preying on each other, if all the dinosaurs are killing each other, I mean, even the herbivore dinosaurs may have been saying, we're better than you guys because you guys eat flesh and that's why you deserve to get eaten. The argument of how come all of you deserve to survive if you all keep saying no one else deserves to survive. Boom. Instead of figuring out how to work together as a team, they just become more aggressive to one another. Suddenly there's a downfall, an asteroid, an explosion, complete loss. It feels like we're still dinosaurs up here. So they didn't really go extinct. They just evolved. trying to get to a point of saying that there seems to be this ethical line that we're trying to convince life is okay to cross, but we're also not trying to convince life that it's okay to cross because we think life is doing it to us anyway and waiting on us to have an interest in it to make it fair. As a group, people investigate the ethics of existence to figure out how to make their civilization better and more comfortable so that they have a better quality of survival. One person investigates something, another person is affected, causing them to investigate. This happens until pretty much the whole crowd is investigating, and now you got them all at a point where they're not sure what the next thing to do is or whether they're okay in the position that they're in. They start moving faster. They start talking faster. Because it seems that the moments that catch up to you are the moments in which you're being told that you've done something wrong and it isn't your fault, but still matters. And so moving faster than everything maintains the Jesus argument. How can I be punished if I don't know what I'm doing? When slowed, even if you don't know what you're doing, you have time to realize why it's wrong. And thus the things around you that want to attack you for it can say, see, you realize it was wrong. You realize it was wrong. I want to fight. I want to fight. I want to fight. But if you stay in motion, those things can never attack you without attacking their own survival via the Jesus argument. Because you were still in a motion that did not have time to perceive the environment enough to get put in the position of a conflict in which you could be held responsible via some failure on your part. And so this attempt to move faster looks to me like an attempt to evade judgment so that this whole time you can continue a momentum of not understanding how what you're doing is affecting others. For instance, most of the time that I make an argument, there's always this attempt to interpret it as a segment of what I said at the beginning and hold me to that in an unrealistic way. It seems as if somebody's listening to me fast and choosing the route in which they can still be right and I can be wrong. If they were to slow down and listen to the whole argument, then they would realize that what I said had greater dimension, greater depth, greater availability to what's possible than the little segment that they interpreted. But because I can only say they interpreted that little segment in a fast-thinking response, I cannot hold them accountable for every other thing that I said as well, because they're only responding to a small part, plus the argument of genuine, quick-led misunderstanding. Now, anything they do wrong to me because of their misinterpretation, I have to not be irritated for because that's what you said. That's what you said. But that's what you said. Because if I attack there, if I frustrate there, then even when I'm confused, even when I don't know what's going on, I deserve to die. Because in that moment, that's what I will have done to something else, to someone else. Having to play a game of keeping up speed with people trying to avoid the consequences. We're in a sense, notice the cats trying to do this thing where they get behind me randomly just to assert that they did it. And I think they try to do it in a way that they can do it without getting caught. And so the first couple of times they do it and then they walk in front of me to notice for me to notice whether they're doing it or not. It's this weird game of, if you aren't keeping up with the situation fast, like let's say your entire reach of understanding is out here. That means that anyone moving within this range can tell you what you are, and because it hasn't made it out here yet, you can't deny it. And if they're acting fast and saying that what they think is real and they don't know that it's not, you cannot really be aggressive towards them without justifying aggression towards you when you don't know what's going on. And so you're forced to go with them until you get out of the momentum of whatever they're trying to do with or to you. Fast is, that's what it looks like to me. You'll get killed if you attack me here, because it'll look like something else to you one day, and you know that's how it works. Not being slow permanently, but slowing down can allow you to face the momentum that seems to be catching up to you. Slowing down can give you an opportunity to see things like whether cats are attacking you or not, based on their behaviors. They're an intelligent species, yet they play stupid to frustrate. If in a situation where something seems to have gotten to you within your reach, it feels as if it doesn't matter what you say or do. And so, in the idea that the cats have some sort of super brain that they're all working together and communicating with each other on, like we do, suggests that the species is in its own state of existential warfare with humanity. And that's why they focus on these ethical strategies, these social predators. You're not taking care of them well enough. You're treating them too harshly. This one's priding you because it's forcing you to feed it. That means it's God. This one's pregnant, so you can't fall for that, or else you're treating this one wrong. This one doesn't look like it's doing anything, but is always the most aggressive underneath its actions. Things like this seem to be the species pushing humanity into a state of corruptibility, the inability to say that we're doing right by everything. And so how does one handle the ethics of watching someone try their hardest to move fast enough that you can't do right by them regardless? How does one handle the situation when it seems that people are not just speeding ahead to avoid the consequences, but are speeding ahead to create consequences for you? What do you do when somebody interprets you as doing wrong and does not care about what you're doing at this level, moves here and says that you are, and you not being able to explain because it's not here is proof that you're guilty? Some might ask why it gets here if it needs to be here sometimes. If it's here, it's crashing. If it's here, neither side knows what they're doing, and this side is just using momentum to try and rush over you. The reason it gets here is because we're doing good enough that ethics maintains stability for our protection at this length. But if someone starts evading that, if someone starts tripping or tricking or playing with those ethics, then these little imbalances occur in which we say, why is that happening? What am I supposed to do about that? Something gets close to you while you're confused, and while you're confused and it's certain because it's just in a speedy momentum, you're more likely to fold to it. The slower I move, the more I can see things that were trying to happen to me. Things that if I was moving quickly, I would not have noticed chasing me. Now that I've slowed my pace and I've gotten out of this 5-day marijuana binge, I can better realize what's going on around me and why it's incorrect. Because the disadvantage of moving fast is that whenever you're in a collision and you're moving fast, you cannot explain why something wrong happening to you is unjust, because all you are is the momentum of what you were doing. However, if you're slow, not only can you see things coming towards you, in a way, you can sort of choose to affect its direction smoothly before it even knows what it was doing. Speed seems to be creating a pinpoint stretch down on ethics, a point that curls everyone's thinking into whatever is wrong with it. All it takes is for one person in a great ethical position, like a child, to keep doing wrong to an extent that we can't say is necessarily evil, but we can't say is good either. Something like that, establishing norms and rules, pulls all of humanity closer to even recklesser ethical positions, in which all it takes is for one person to trip and everyone's little balance on how what they were doing is okay unravels. I think that the beginning of extinction, I don't know what's breaking me here, but I'm annoyed by it, involves first the species having been outsmarted in its right to exist, not having been preyed upon by speed itself or tearing of flesh, but by the principles of doing right by everything, so that everything is wrong if it does not do right by you. I have observed and I have studied these cats, and I have seen them purposely try to make me bad, purposely try to make me wrongdoing, so that they could be cuter than me and survive. They have a childlike instinct that is too close to humanity's behavior. Almost as if they're trying to get rid of their stepdad at this point. And how does a kid get rid of their stepdad if not by making their stepdad look bad to their mother? Why does that kid know that works? Because if they're bad, they should be in trouble. So I think with the level that the cats are moving at, and the amount of things that you guys say are just happening because you were all letting it get too close, we're dealing with a downfall of civilization. But underneath this downfall is the secured ethics that maintain humanity's survival. Whether humanity can receive it again, I'm not sure. However, civilization has fallen before and rebuilt itself from the ground, so I'm assuming that we can still get that ethics. However, if I assume that only one species can have it, we've made it ultimately one person can survive. We just exchange person for species. So in this little agreement or little exchange we have with the cats and the dogs, of how we get to be different, when all we want to do is what the cats are doing. Whatever we want all day without any problems. Free food, no concern, no care. The only reason that we're not animals is because of a different set of behaviors from them. The special expectation of being taken care of has altered the way the species behaves. Suddenly I'm looking at myself here. This is where I'm at. I'm in this right there. So someone's trying to kill me by saying that I'm just this, but they also distance themselves so that they can keep saying it harder and acting on it anyway, so that everyone gets put in a physical position to make me that regardless. Via this, if I'm this here and someone keeps moving me here, then ultimately Oh, that's why you said there. That's someone talking through me to try and justify creating an image of negativity on me so that they can attack me with it. You know what you're doing at this point. I think I can kill you right now. My whole point being, notice how men take each other out sexually, how women take each other out sexually. There's always something wrong with someone else. They're always not as good a person. They're always annoying. They're always doing something ineffectively. They're always not ethical. They're always not paying enough attention to what's going on to survive. And that's ultimately what ethics correlates to. The more ethical you are, the more you're paying attention to what's happening. This creates a solid state that does not have to keep moving, because the state's solidity is confirmed in its ability to confirm. Okay, still dying. Why are you messing me up while I talk? You're the one that made me say there earlier when I was trying to say here. So why are you messing me up? Are you gonna take responsibility for this? Just completely interrupted what I was doing, and now I've lost track of what I was saying, and now I'm over here. That's all this shit does. It just distracts me. The reason that state is more solid is because it's not trying to say, I did something first. Instead of just going for what it wants and trying to reach it before anything else can so that everything else is confused about it, it looks at what everything else is interested in and puts itself in the best position for everything else to get what it wants, including itself. And so, these times of insecure jealousy in which it seems unfair that I'm doing, receiving, creating, making, getting, earning, or whatever it is, something that you don't understand, stems from this slowed state of ethics, in which it can only speed up if there is some sort of error of logic creating a collision in movement. Meaning, the less I observe about a situation, the less accurately I can respond to it, and those inaccuracies become conflicts with the environment around me. The more I observe the situation, the more accurately I respond to it, and the more inaccurate those people who are moving fast become. Now, of course, they can throw the argument in there that they are just moving faster and observing and measuring it faster than me. However, the people doing that also can't solve issues like racism. The people doing that think that there are always going to be crimes, fights, murders. The people doing that expect conflict regardless of what they do. And so, with there being a pinpoint pulling down of our ethics as a strategy for making us all unjust for survival, we now need to treat every other animal species with higher observation. And I won't call it respect, but I will say we need to take them more serious in regard to their ability to think. Whatever it is survival is occurring within the same field, the same spectrum. And thus, even if you're not a human, you are colliding and interacting with it. The cats today, after I cleaned their litter box, have chosen to defecate somewhere else and are doing so while seemingly looking as if they've done nothing wrong to their knowing. The only issue is I feel this exchange in which, as I'm saying this, their physical movement is actually causing an effect on my body. When lizards grow fur, they sure look pretty. I'm sure you noticed earlier that instead of saying here, I said there, and then I called it out. Once I got to this point, which is what there was targeting, and then I spoke to somebody right now who's not in this room with me that seemed to be affecting my moment in an attempt to create a negative character. The reason I know that's what there was for is because at the point that I tried to do what I wanted and was kind of split by a collision, I ended up there. Whoever is doing this is causing the pin pull on ethics and thinks that it is okay to purposely pull the pin down and stretch it so that other people become wrong, so that they can rush to this point and say, oh, y'all are unjust for survival. The faster you're moving, the faster you have something chasing you. That's what it is. Even the air. Well, if you look at trees, if you look at everything, even trees have a situation in which we need to protect them in order to survive. The trees are still ethical. Sorry, somebody put images of trees in my head, and here I am next to this thing again. So, even in the state at which if we lose all of our trees, we'll die, the trees somehow make an argument that by getting rid of them, we all deserve to be getting rid of ourselves. Everything is ethical. And so that means that no matter how aggressive it gets, no matter how much it says, no matter how much it does, that its own unethical behavior will collapse it. And at that point, it'll use a Jesus argument and say, that's not fair. How is this my fault? I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. And that justifies an articulate form of aggression. There, it seems I was playing a game of making a point, and I lost it. However, in the same world where I'm being frustrated into unethical behavior, I can also say that me losing that point was not my fault, especially if others can measure that I lost it. It means that they understood that something was supposed to be understood, and that's all that was needed for them to figure it out on their own. But even those moments create the opportunity for someone to say, I still don't understand you. I'm sorry. I still don't understand you. I still don't understand you. Asteroids caught in a collision, planets orbiting around the sun seeming to be floating and moving and still and expanding and imploding and turning, does so at what looks like a slow speed. We can create a relative point away from the sun and say that the sun is moving fast compared to that, maybe even faster than the asteroids. However, I think, no, you can't, because the asteroids still move faster than the fucking sun, unless they're going in the opposite direction of the sun. But in nothing, there's no opposite direction. So, in being slow, in justifying, and in creating, now, the same momentum of reaction you would have had by blowing wind on someone's face by doing that, you can sort of do this now. Because that same energy, that same effect on space created by being fast is amplified by some sort of faster response to the idea of existence itself. And I didn't mean to say faster there. What I think this is another catching of the that moment, of the there moment, in which somebody still wants to be right and will not accept me saying it any differently so that they can continue making a point they'd like to in order to get what they want. But a sun can affect life, space, everything greater than an asteroid whose main reliance is the momentum of its speed and trajectory. The sun, while being completely still relative to an asteroid, can curve the asteroid's trajectory, send it somewhere else. But the asteroid can either pierce through something or be stopped by a bigger object. My point being that somehow taking things slower, that patience, a cat says that it's better than me because now I'm looking at its shit. Not being like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? But being like, what the fuck, where did this come from? What is all this? Expanding as far as I can, given the danger of the situation, allows me a greater effect. The cat wants me to stay right here. It wants me to look here and feel as if I'm stuck in this moment and explain how I'm good with no distance of thought. It wants me to be put in the perfect conditions of collision in which I'm only thinking this small when I could be seeing this far. This is what starts prideful competition and thus leads to negligence towards them. Then it becomes ethical. How come you serve to survive if you, okay, serve to survive? Whoever this is trying to make me a slave. Whoever this is trying to make me a fucking slave. All right, I'm killing people. I'm gonna warn here. I'm murdering people now. And what are you gonna do? Your slavery is okay. What the fuck? Like, I get to kill people. Shit's retarded, bro. That you don't deserve to survive because you've been limited into a small state of thinking, easily played with by a cat, like how they have those little toys. They just bounce it around. That's what they do. They insult you, and then they make it small. And they say, no, you're still this, and then they play with it until you try to escape faster. It means that whoever's doing that to me is the one that was causing all the problems they say justified, or that they just don't care. Which means I no longer have to be ethical towards them because we've reached 2 points. They're either responsible for what's happening wrong with me, or they think that they're just surviving and it doesn't matter. So they think that they're just surviving, it doesn't matter, is the most ethical way to survive against me in this situation. So breaking down they're just surviving and it doesn't matter means that they're caught in a momentum that they can't stop without it collapsing onto them, crashing onto them, without dealing with the consequences of an abrupt change of direction. whatever becomes hot becomes something else when hotter. That it reaches a point of intensity that it cannot even be called hot anymore, but becomes a different effect on space-time. Heat being frustration. All right, I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. So I think I successfully killed the cats, and I've isolated whoever this is that's been affecting me. Obviously, they're gonna use a schizophrenia argument, but this has too much of a pattern, so I'm just gonna go ahead and handle it on my own. See how I can break them apart from right here, which means they're gonna get more aggressive when I turn the camera off. So, peace out.